Now, what I want to do is I want to ask you a question, and in it really as well, put your hand up. How many people have had a child in any kind of sport? Put your hand up, any kind of sport. Okay, us as well. So we're a competitive family. My boys love sports, and so we spend a lot of time at soccer fields and volleyball games and hockey games. And what's always amazed me is how when you hang out with these parents, and they're the nicest people. You know, you're getting to know them, and you meet a mom, and she's so sweet. And then you sit down to watch the soccer game. You got your lawn chair. You got your coffee. And all of a sudden, this sweet, sweet person turns into the Hulk, right? And all of a sudden, she's yelling at the ref. How can you not see that? Open your eyes, ref. And you're looking at her like, what is happening? And what's amazing to me is how someone can have a civil conversation with you and yell at the referee at the same time, right? So it's like, yeah, and then this happened, and this happened. You got to make that call. And then, and you're like, what is happening? I didn't know that was in there. You seem so sweet. And we all know when people do that kind of thing, it's actually kind of funny till it isn't, right? There is a point where people are crossing lines. And there's a gap here between the person you thought you knew and the words that they're saying out loud. And you've probably had experience with that, like that with someone else. Someone who you trusted ended up betraying you. Someone gossiped who you never expected to gossip. Somebody who you really respected, all of a sudden you heard something come out of their mouth and you're thinking, man, that's not the person I thought you were. There's a gap between who I think you are and who you say you are and how you actually speak. And here's the thing about that gap. It's really easy to see in someone else. It's really hard to see in yourself. Because you would say, hey, you aren't a mean person. You aren't a hurtful person. But at a certain point, you have said things that are hurtful. You have said something to someone that is hurtful. You have posted something that was hurtful. You thought you were standing up for truth, and in that rage, you posted it, and then you're like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or maybe you've texted something hurtful, right? We all know that text. The text, you start texting it, and then no, you erase it. And then you start texting it, and then no, you erase it. And you start texting it, and then no. And then you start texting, you're like, you know what? They really need to know the truth. And you hit send, and you wish, oh, maybe I shouldn't have sent that. Or you start that text with, listen, to be honest. That's always a bad sign right there, right? To be honest. And for many of you, words that you have said, words that you have typed, words that you have texted have cost you. They've cost you a relationship, a friendship, or for a season, they created tension. They created tension for you at work. They hurt a relationship with a friend or a neighbor. The words that we say when they are hurtful often cost us. And sometimes someone says words to us that cost us too. Now, whenever you go to the emergency department, for any reason, they usually check two things. They check your temperature and your blood pressure. And the reason they do that is because those external symptoms can tell you that something is going on the inside. Right? If you have high blood pressure, they're like, ooh, there's something going on with the center of your system, your heart. Or if your temperature is high, they know there's an infection actually in your system. The symptoms show us something about what's going on inside ourselves. And you know that words are like that. Your words can help you diagnose whether something deeper is going on inside of you. If you haven't been with us, we're in part 3 of a series called Undivided, and we're looking at what it means to be the same person everywhere, to live a whole life. Some people might say an integrated life. For those of us who would call ourselves followers of Jesus, a life where we don't just say we follow Jesus, but actually live that way. And we're looking at a letter written by James, who was the brother of Jesus and a leader in the church. And the first week, we looked at how to be undivided when we're under trials and suffering. Last week, we looked at how to be undivided when it comes to the people in our lives. And today, in chapter 3, James is going to talk to us about what it means to be undivided with our words. And I've had a couple of people say to me, thank you so much for this series. And I'm like, really? Because James is pretty tough. Right? So I hope you're ready today, because if you thought the last 2 weeks were tough, James gets even tougher. And so just a reminder that these are not my words, these are the words of James, okay? And this is what he says. He says, "Dear brothers and sisters, not many of you should become teachers in the church, for we who teach will be judged more strictly." Now this is true. It's not that, you don't just see it in James, you see in other parts of the Bible that there is a high level of accountability for those who teach Scripture. In fact, I put a lot of effort into what I share on a Sunday. In fact, there are usually 2, sometimes 3 people who have heard my message before you hear it to give me feedback. I prepare it collaboratively, and this is the reason, because I know I'm going to be accountable for what I teach one day. But why does James start out talking about teachers? Because he's trying to get across a larger principle as well, and it's this: the more words you use, the more accountable you're going to be. The more words that come out of your mouth, the more accountable you're going to be. And the more people that you speak to, the more accountable you're going to be, because the more words you use, in particular with the people you speak to the most, man, the more power you sometimes have. I mean, it's an interesting exercise to think about. Who are the people in your life who hear your words the most? Because that's probably where you're going to be most accountable. Where are you using the most words? Because what James wants us to know is the power of words comes with the weight of responsibility. And so it's important that we think about who we talk to the most, because there's a responsibility and an accountability that comes with that. Now, you read that and you think, okay, James, I know words can be powerful. That's not new news to me. And so basically, what are you going to get at here? Like, just talk nicer? Like, is that the point? Just be nice in how we talk? But James kind of continues to move layer by layer through this chapter. And he says this. He says, indeed, he says, we all make many mistakes. Some translations say, we all stumble in this area. For if we could control our tongues, we would be perfect and could also control ourselves in every other way. Now, what James is saying is, listen, if you can get a hold of this in your life, you can get a hold of the rest of your life, right? Another way to put it is he's trying to get across, hey, mouth control is connected to self-control, right? If you knew always how to speak truth with grace and love, and you always knew what to say in every situation, wouldn't that make your life a whole lot easier? There's something about, man, when you get on top of what comes out of your mouth, you can control almost every area of your life. It is probably the number one place we get in the most trouble. And then he goes on to say this, we can make a large horse go wherever we want by means of a small bit in its mouth. Right? The mouth is a small thing, but man, it helps us harness such power. You think of a giant stallion or a Clydesdale that someone controls with the reins because of a small bit in his mouth. This is about the power that can come with words. That there's such power to be harnessed, that there's a power in our words. And then he says this, and a small rudder makes a huge ship turn wherever the pilot chooses to go, even though the winds are strong. What's he talking about here? He's talking about direction. That, man, words can control direction of your life and the lives of others. I mean, many of you, the direction of your life has come as a result of words that somebody said to you. Right? Somebody said something negative to you, and your whole life has been a response to that. Or somebody said something positive and spoke into your life and saw something into you, and that changed the direction of your life. Paul's saying, man, words have power. Words control direction. This is a small bit, but it's a huge thing. He says, in the same way, the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. That, yeah, with your tongue, you can speak to thousands of people, but you can even say something to one person that echoes from their life to the life of generations. Man, you got to know the power. You got to know the direction. You got to know the influence. The tongue is small, but its impact is huge, he's saying, because the power and direction of influence of our tongue. The writer of Proverbs says this. He says, the tongue can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. It's a good question for us. Does your mouth speak life Or does your mouth speak death? Because the more you speak, the more consequences you will have in your life. Let me ask you a question about your own life. Whose voice do you carry in your own life? We all carry voices. I've shared the story before that when I was in youth ministry at a previous church, there's someone who I really respected, and he asked me if I wanted to go out for breakfast. I remember being excited about breakfast. And at that breakfast, he sat down and proceeded to tear a strip off of me immediately. And he said a lot of things about me. And then when he was done, he got up and he paid the bill with the cash and he left. And if I'm honest, I still carry some of that conversation in here. I still carry that voice. Who are the voices you carry? Positive and negative. Parents, coaches, teachers, uncles, aunts, neighbors, friends, your brother-in-law, he never has anything good to say, you know? Here's a different question. Who is carrying your voice? And for the people who are carrying your voice today, what is it saying to them? It's a pretty thought-provoking question. See, your words create reality for other people. It's actually a scriptural principle that words create. Right? Jesus said that God says, "Let there be light," and there is light. And here's the thing about it. They are so powerful. I remember when I was just coming out of teacher's college, I was at camp one summer, and I'm sitting across the desk from someone who I really respected. And in that conversation, they said one sentence to me: "Jeff, have you ever considered a full-time career in ministry?" And that one phrase impacted the direction of my entire life. And it's impacting you today. And I'm standing here because of it. His words started to create reality in my life. He spoke something into my life that he saw. Your words create reality. So what are they creating? Another way I think about this is your words are limited currency. You only have so many words in your life, and you only have so much time. And the older you are, the less time you have. And my question is, how are you spending them? If our words are so powerful, how are we spending them? So think, okay, James, so words have power. I should use them well. I need to be more intentional about my words. I get that, James. But is that it? Well, if you've read any James so far, you know that's never it, right? Because he gets you here, and then he gets you here over the top, right? And he takes it to another level. He goes another level deeper than this. And he says this: "And among all the parts of the body, the tongue is a flame of fire. It is a whole world of wickedness corrupting your entire body." Okay, now we see we're going next level, James. And James is saying, listen, you all know how dangerous your tongue is. I mean, I could go around the room here and say, hey, has your mouth ever gotten you in trouble? And some of you are like, oh yeah, I'll put 2 hands up for that one. He's saying, man, this has the ability to set your life on fire. And you think, oh, okay, so like how bad is it, James? He says, well, let me tell you. He says, it can set your whole life on fire. For it is set on fire by hell itself. Just in case you didn't get the point. Now this word hell here is translated Gehenna, which was a place outside the city, which was a dump at the time. But what it was really known for is it is the place where in their history the Israelites had sacrificed children to an idol. It was the symbol of one of the darkest times in their entire history. There's nothing darker than that moment in their history. What's he getting at here? He's saying, listen, your words can be a tool for heaven or they can be a tool for hell. That's pretty clear. He's saying, listen, it's more than just behavior modification of your vocabulary. And here's what you start to figure out. And now we're going to start figuring it out. What James is getting at here is he's getting at the fact that God isn't interested in changing your vocabulary as much as he is transforming your heart. See, words aren't hurtful. He starts by saying, well, we all make mistakes. But what he's really getting at is, listen, your words aren't hurtful because you made a mistake. The hurtful words that come out of your mouth come out of because there's something going on inside of you. That there's a darkness that you battle inside of you. The words that come out of you reveal the heart that is in you. And that's what he is most interested in. The condition of your heart. Jesus actually addresses this on multiple occasions. On one occasion, there's some Pharisees there. And he's talking to these Pharisees about what they're saying. And he says to them, well, good trees produce good fruit and bad trees produce bad fruit. You can tell that James and Jesus were brothers. They're both pretty straight. He says, for whatever it is in your heart, Jesus says, determines what you say. That if you want to know what's going on in here, pay attention to what's coming out of here. Okay, so my words are dangerous, James. I get it. You're saying they can do the work of hell. That's pretty tough. What do I do about it? What do I do about it? I mean, if they're so dangerous, what do I do? He goes on to explain. He says, listen, people can tame all kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, fish. But then he says this, but no one, and this is important, because it says no one, but actually the better translation, I think there are other translations that do this part better. It's not but no one, it's but no human is what it actually is. But no person can tame the tongue. No human being can tame their tongue. There's someone outside of us who can help tame our tongue, but we can't tame our own tongue. It's restless. Now this word restless, if you're with us in part 1, it's that word, same word as it was for unstable in part 1. It's the same Greek word. It's unstable. The tongue is standing in two canoes. It's lacking stability. It's divided. And it's evil, and it can be full of deadly poison. Now, as harsh as that is, you know that's true because you have had that experience. Someone says something to you, sends something to you, texts something to you, and it goes in you, and it's not just something you hear in here and goes out here. It's something you hear that goes in here. And it's like it's in your whole body for a day, a week, a month, your entire life. That's what he's getting at here. Man, your words can poison. They are dangerous. Your mouth can be unstable, it can be deadly, and it can be dangerous. What's he trying to get at here? Because this doesn't feel like behavior modification anymore, does it? This isn't like talk nicer with your words. We're at a different level now. He said the problem is not simply that we say wrong things. What he's getting at is the deeper problem is that our words reveal division in our heart. That our words reveal when there is division in our hearts. And he goes on to explain a little bit more about what he means by division. He says, listen, sometimes your tongue, sometimes it praises our Lord and Father, and sometimes it curses those who have been made in the image of God. Right? You know what this is like, right? You're driving in your car, you got the worship music on, what a beautiful name it is, right? Then someone cuts you off. You got a name for that guy too, but it's not a beautiful one, right? Right? And that name comes out of the same mouth that the beautiful name did. Come on. Divided. You've been with a group of people, maybe your small group, to study Scripture. And then you're out at the car afterwards before you leave, and the mouth that was praying on the inside of the meeting is gossiping out by the street. There's division. He says, and so blessing and cursing come pouring out of the same mouth. Surely, my brothers and sisters, this is not right. Does a spring of water bubble out with both fresh water and bitter water? Can't have them both at the same time. Does a fig tree produce olives, or a grapevine produce figs, or an apple tree produce oranges? It's not how it works. No, and you can't draw fresh water from a salty spring. What's he getting at here? Your words are a window window to your divided or undivided heart. And the question is, what do your words tell you about your heart? Okay, I'm with you, James. So my words reveal a divided heart, but divided how? Divided by what? Like, what does that mean to have a divided heart? And what happens is James starts to talk about wisdom when it comes to division in our hearts. And he says this: if you are wise and you understand God's ways, prove it by living an honorable life, doing good works with humility that comes from wisdom. Now he starts talking about the wisdom of God. That the wisdom of God, if you're living that way, if you would say, I follow God with my life, prove it by being honorable, doing good works with humility that comes from God's wisdom. He starts talking about wisdom. What's he saying? Your words are evidence of the wisdom that you live by. He's going another layer now. Your words are evidence of the wisdom you live by. What is the wisdom that you are living by? And he starts talking about God's wisdom, and then he starts to talk about a different thing, a different kind of wisdom. He says, but if you are bitterly jealous and there is selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth with boasting and lying. So much of the negativity, darkness that comes out of our mouth is about these things. When you're putting someone else down or calling someone else out, it's usually to make yourself feel better. Come on, let's be honest. James got us this far now. Or the reason you want to tear someone down is because you have selfish ambition in your heart. The reason you're upset with your kids and you say things you shouldn't at your kids is because you're mad at somebody at work. And you get mad at somebody at work because you're upset with your wife. You get mad at your wife because you're upset with the neighbor. And you're upset, and there's this selfish ambition of it's all got to go right for me. It's all about me. And then, he's saying, when you get called out on it, don't start covering it up. Don't start getting defensive. And we live in the most defensive culture. Well, it wasn't me. It's not really my fault. It's not really me who did it. It's really them. It wasn't me. Everybody talks that way. All of that stuff. I didn't start the conversation. They started gossiping. I'm just trying to be a good friend. He's saying, be careful. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. And then he says this: such things are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. He's getting very specific now. Such things are earthly at best, unspiritual, and at worst, being leveraged by the enemy to set people's lives on fire. But none of those categories are good, in case you're wondering. He says, for wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind. What's he talking about here? Disorder, evil. He's saying, listen, if you live your life according to the wisdom of the culture, which is I get mine, I deserve mine, I want to be better than, more than, have more than, there's jealousy, selfish ambition, and when I get called out on it, I just lie and I twist and I put spin on it. He says that cultural wisdom is going to create disorder in your life. Cultural wisdom is jealousy, selfish ambition, disorder, and conflict. And he's saying, what do your words reflect? Do they reflect this? Is this where your wisdom is coming from? Listen, if you are in a workplace and you would say there's disorder and conflict, I've got a pretty good guess how people talk to each other there. And if you've got a home that's full of disorder and conflict, I've got a pretty good idea of how conversations go there too. And he's saying, man, this is not the kind of wisdom that you want. Okay, James, you're killing me. What do I want then? What is the wisdom I want? He says, but the wisdom from above, the wisdom of God is first of all pure. It's also peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. That last one is like the kicker. Okay, I want to be pure, peace-loving, maybe. Gentle at all times, maybe some of the time. Oh yeah, and willing to yield to others. Well, I ain't doing that. He's saying, man, this is the wisdom of above. This is the wisdom you want. It's full of mercy. It's full of mercy and the fruit of good deeds. It shows no favoritism, and it's always sincere. God's wisdom, he's saying, has humility, purity, peace, mercy, sincerity, and good fruit. Now, if somebody came to you and they're making decisions and they're speaking out of cultural wisdom, and they say, listen, I need to meet with you because I need to challenge you on something that's going to be hard to hear. You want to talk to that person? No. But if somebody who has God's wisdom, who's humble, pure, peace, mercy, sincerity, and good fruit, says to you, listen, I'm going to have a conversation with you, and it's going to be something hard to hear, you're way more open to that conversation. Which person do you want to hang out with? Someone with God's wisdom or someone with cultural wisdom? Because your words are evidence. This is what James is trying to get at. Your words are evidence of the wisdom you live by. And if you want to know which wisdom you live by, have a look at your words. You think, okay, James, this sounds great, but how do I get there exactly? I want to have humility. I want to have purity. I want to speak peace. I want to speak mercy. I want to speak sincerity. How do I do? Is this about self-control? I need to have self-control. And what is the point anyway? Like, what is the goal of all of this? And this is what he gets. Now he gets to the goal of the whole thing. And he says this, and those who are peacemakers will plant seeds of peace and reap a harvest of righteousness. Jesus himself calls us to be peacemakers. He says, blessed are the peacemakers. Jeff actually means peacemaker, so I know all the passages on peacemaker. What's he saying here? He's saying, listen. He's saying, do your words sow peace in people's lives? Because if they do, if out of godly wisdom you are sowing words of peace in people's lives, you will reap a harvest of righteousness. Okay, well, what does that mean? You will be right with God and right with others. If you want to be right with God and right with others, the question is, are you sowing peace into people's lives? Are you sowing seeds of peace into their lives that you might reap a harvest of righteousness? Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. Your words are evidence of the wisdom that you live by. And the question becomes, is your heart divided between cultural wisdom and God's wisdom? Or are you standing in one boat, asking God for his wisdom, that you might speak words of peace, that you might be known as a peacemaker? Now, here's the thing. The one thing that James isn't getting at here is, okay, now go home and try to change the words you use, right? Because he said, no one can tame the tongue. So then how does this happen? How do we tame our tongue without just trying to change our vocabulary? It's not like, okay, I need a swear jar. That's not what James is saying. He's talking about transformation. You see, what this is about, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus, what this is about is when the truth and grace of Jesus fill your heart, the truth and grace of Jesus come out of your mouth. What this is about is what Jesus has done for you and for me. See, when we understand that he died on the cross for our sin, that we are in spiritual poverty, and that there would be such grace bestowed upon us, such grace given to us, that he would give his life, he would come and give his life on a cross for you and for me. The grace we've received, the mercy we've received, we're so overwhelmed with it that it flows out of our mouths to the people around us. That we speak with grace, that we speak with mercy, that we speak with love, that we speak truth with grace and mercy and love because of what we have received, because our heart is being changed. John Calvin, in the 1500s, he wrote a book called it's not really a book, a volume, called The Institutes of Christian Religion. And there's this one line. He says this, he says, the gospel is not a doctrine of the tongue, but of life. But of life. That as your life is changed by Jesus, your words change. The more you understand the gift you've been given, the more the words that come out of your mouth are a gift to other people. Peter writes about this in 1 Peter. And what Peter does here is he actually shows us how Jesus did this in 1 Peter 2. He shows us exactly how Jesus used his words. He says this, for God called you to do good, he's talking to us, even if it means suffering, just as Christ suffered for you. He is your example, and you must follow in his steps. And then he gives us an example of how Jesus used words. He says this, he never sinned, nor ever deceived anyone. He never lied, he never twisted, he never covered up. He did not retaliate when he was insulted, nor threaten revenge when he suffered. How? How did Jesus, like this is mind-boggling. How did he never retaliate? How did he never show revenge? How did he never deceive anyone? How did he never get defensive? How did he always know what to say when people said things about him? Peter tells us. He said, he left his case in the hands of God who always judges fairly. See, when we lash out, when we speak out, when we want to argue, defend, you know where that comes from? We're the judge. And Jesus said, no, my heavenly Father is the judge. And I will leave it to him, even when I'm misunderstood. Listen, Jesus had every reason to retaliate, but he didn't. He had every right to defend himself, but he trusted the Father. And at the cross, he absorbed our sin. He absorbed your insults, our lies, our violence, so that we could have peace with God and then in turn become people of peace. That the more we understand the truth and grace and mercy that we have received at the cross, the more that same grace and mercy will come out of our mouth. So, what do you do with all this? Right? Because I don't want you to boil this message down to like, okay, talk nice and then leave. Because it's not about modifying your vocabulary. It's about having your heart changed. And what I want to do is I'm going to give you a bit of an exercise today. And I want you to reach into the seat pockets in front of you. You're going to find one of these business cards in there. And I want to talk to you about a timeshare opportunity no, I'm just kidding. It's white on one side and black on the other. And we're gonna look at the black side with the boxes on it first. And this is an exercise. Now, it's going to feel like behavior modification to start. That's okay. This is an exercise that I'm challenging you to do Monday to Friday. First of all, there's the morning challenge. Between when you got up and noon, did I defend myself, gossip, or tear anyone down this morning? And then the second one for the afternoon is, did I honestly love or encourage anyone with my words this afternoon? Now, this is what I want you to do with this card. On the other side, we're going to sing a song in a moment, and you're going to actually have some time to stay seated and just reflect. And there's a pen around you somewhere. And I want you to write this on the white side. Jesus, give me a heart of wisdom to be a peacemaker with blank. Give me a heart of wisdom to be you can put a person's name, you can put my colleagues, my workplace, my school, specific name of someone. Jesus, give me a heart of wisdom to be a peacemaker with blank. So how does this all, and don't write anything down yet. I know some of you are like, I already know who it was the first 5 minutes. Like, I'm already raging. So listen. This is I don't want you to miss this. I don't want you to miss this. On this card, the person or the place or whatever you name, what you are going to do is every morning ask God to change your heart. Not try harder. This is not about trying harder. This is about transformation. The Christian faith is not about trying harder, it's about transformation. It's about saying to God, God, give me a heart of wisdom to be a peacemaker. By the power of your Spirit, I am in prayer begging for this. And this dark side is just a mirror. For you to evaluate, how is this going? Am I being changed? What is God saying to me? How is he working in me? It's not a behavior thing where you tick the boxes and said, I did it, now I'm fixed. That's not what this is. It's not even what the Christian faith is. It's that you would say, God, change and transform me. That you would spend, may this card be an invitation for you to spend more time on your knees. That God would change your heart and give you a heart of wisdom, of a peacemaker who reflects the grace and truth that you've been given, that you might speak grace and truth into the lives of others and change the world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray, we're going to sing, you're going to have a time to think all of that through, and at a certain point they'll invite you to stand, but let me pray. God, we come to you today. And God, this is a challenging thing. But the fact that James was your brother and Peter walked alongside of you as witnesses to the fact that Jesus, you lived this out. And then in your grace and your love, died on a cross. That we might be changed and transformed, that we might be made right with God, and by the power of your Spirit, that we might be changed. God, I pray that you would make us people who chase after transformed hearts by your power and by your Spirit. That we might be the kinds of people who speak life into those around us. And we pray this in your name.